It was a moonless night in Ekron, Kentucky. The air was heavy, filled with rustling leaves and faint crickets. Once thriving, Ekron now felt frozen. Its streets silent, flickering streetlights cast shifting shadows on cracked pavement. Founded on land, donated by Dr. Roberts, and named by his wife after the biblical city of Ekron, it had flourished and become a beacon of faith. Over time, secrets weighed it down, its facade hiding a darker truth. Tonight, the shadows loomed deeper, the silence oppressive. The church, once a lively hub, now stood solemn. Beneath its foundation, something ancient stirred, growing for decades. On this particular night, Clara, a lone survivor seeking refuge, stumbled into Ekron. Exhausted and desperate, she was drawn to the church, its silhouette stark against the night sky. The air was thick with an otherworldly energy, and Clara felt the inexplicable pull towards the building. As she stepped inside, the familiar yet unsettling atmosphere of abandonment greeted her. The main hall was quiet, the pews empty, but Clara's eyes were drawn to the back of the sanctuary, where the old mausoleum lay. She approached cautiously, her heart pounding, boom, boom, boom. Something about the tomb seems off, and her instincts told her that there was more to this place than met the eye. Reaching for the sledgehammer she carried, Clara swung it with all her strength. The sounds of stone breaking, shattering the silence. Behind the crumbling stone lay a hidden door. Clara pushed it open, revealing a dark passage leading down into the earth. The scent of damp stone and burning incense wafted up to meet her, and the faint sound of chanting echoed below. The room was small and oppressive, the air thick with a palpable sense of dread. In the far corners stood two towering statues of death angels. Their stone wings stretched wide, casting menacing shadows that seemed to close in around her. At the centre of the room was a simple wooden table, its surface scarred and strained from the years of dark rituals. It was just large enough to hold a person, its purpose unmistakable. In front of it was a modest podium, clearly meant for the speaker to lead whatever dark ceremonies had taken place here. Rows of old wooden benches were arranged in front of the podium, leading back towards the entrance, their surface worn and cracked. Clara's gaze swept across the room, taking in the abandoned robes and weapons scattered haphazardly across the floor. The eerie quiet was broken only by the faint hum of energy that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. She stepped forward, drawn towards the ancient tome resting on the podium. Slipping into one of the discarded robes, Clara felt its weight settle over her, almost as if it was welcoming her into the dark embrace. Her fingers traced the symbols in the tome, the words whispering to her, urging her to speak them aloud. Her voice faltered at first, but as she began to chant, a strange calm washed over her. The dark hymn filled the small room, each word echoing with sinister power. From the shadows we rise, in darkness we thrive. By the blood of old, we bring forth the new age. Hail the Dark One, brighter of night. We embrace this gift, the shatterer of light. As her chant echoed through the chamber, the statues seemed to loom closer, their hollow eyes fixated on her. The oppressive atmosphere grew heavier, and Clara felt the dark energy envelop her completely. The infection, the isolation, the fear, all of it dissolved in this place. A newfound purpose emerged. Clara was no longer just a survivor. She had just become a vessel for the ancient darkness rooted in Ekron, a harbinger of the nightmare to become. Many believed that Ekron was where it all began. The infection that now plagued the world had its origins buried deep in the town's history. But it wasn't just the infection that haunted Ekron. It was something far older and more sinister. Years ago, a brutal murder had shaken the region. a case steeped in accusations of satanic rituals and dark practices. It was the story of Rhonda Sue Warford, a young woman found brutally murdered on a nearby farm. The case had captivated the public, partly because of the bizarre claims surrounding it. Warford had allegedly dabbled in satanic worship. Two men, Gar Keith Harding and Jeffrey Clark, had been convicted based on flimsy evidence and wild accusations of ritualistic sacrifice. The town's involvement in the case cast a long shadow over its reputation. Though the convictions were eventually overturned, the damage was done. Ekron became a place of whispered tales, where the lines between the truth and myth blurred. Unbeknown to most, the story of Ekron didn't end in the exoneration of Harding and Clark. The dark practices that had been hinted during the trial were more than just courtroom theatrics. Beneath the church, a cult had been quietly growing, its roots entwined in the town's tragic history. The cult believed that the infection ravaging the world was not a curse, but a blessing, a divine gift that would cleanse humanity and bring forth a new order. They saw themselves as a chosen few, destined to guide this new era. The rituals were conducted in secret beneath an old church, where they gathered around ancient relics and whispered incantations into the dead of night. They believed that by embracing the infection, they could transcend mortality and become one of the dark forces that they worshipped.